What if your body could rewire your mind before your thoughts ever catch up? My next guest transformed personal tragedy into a revolutionary approach to healing. Angela Jean is a mindset disruptor and thought pattern expert who founded Soul Sync Sessions after transforming her own trauma into mastery. At 13, she left home and faced life's harshest curriculum, including losing her father and sister to suicide, which taught her to transform survival instincts from a prison of silence and hypervigilance into a science of self reclamation. Her signature approach combines neuroscience and embodied wisdom through what she calls rhythm based healing. Her philosophy centers on a powerful truth. Your body recognizes danger before your mind does, and it's time to let it guide you back to safety and strength. Welcome, Angela Jean. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
So I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself first, and then I have some questions I really want to dive deep into. So the floor is yours.
Well, the journey began. When did the journey begin? Like many of us, raised in a volatile household. My parents separated very young, and I was raised by abusive step-parents, which led me to run away at 13 years old. Obviously, I'm going to nutshell this. I raised myself on the streets. And by the time I went back home is when I started identifying that I was not identifying, I just started connecting the dots that my family wasn't like everybody else's. You know what I mean? The toxic, the mental health issues. And as I started to spend more time in this environment, is when I really started getting exposed to more of the sexual abuse at this time because I was a little bit older. And it's really hard for me to like connect all these dots, because we have so many, when you experience trauma, you have so much missing time.
Yeah.
I just remember that shortly after I left home again because of the sexual abuse on my mom's side with the man that she married, my dad then committed suicide, my sister committed suicide, and then my mom died directly after due to her addiction issues that she struggled with her whole life. I know that's kind of messy, you guys, how I patched that together, but it's kind of how it comes out. You know what I mean? It's hard to really remember everything. And when this happened, obviously, this was like the cherry on the cake as far as the collapse of me. That's when I had like a serious, like what I would call mental breakdown, because I was surviving at this time and everything was going, it's really hard for me
Chaos, right?
to out. It's really hard for me to spit this out. It's so odd because there's so much I can't remember that I can only remember the trauma. So I can't even really give you guys a story that makes sense. I just remember abuse, sexual abuse, runaway, suicides.
Yeah, at a young age.
Unfortunately, that's all I can really remember when it comes to talking about the trauma of my life. But either way, that's what led to me really wanting to be the chain breaker and not wanting me to end up with like everybody else. I did not want to end up committing suicide. I did not want to end up with the addictions my mom had. I didn't want to continue putting my fist through walls, which I was doing because I was raised around violence. I didn't want to be so crazy jealous and psycho in my relationships. I just noticed that I was different. Like I was angrier, I was jealous, I was insecure. I wasn't good. So I just wanted to really become like everyone else that was around me that seemed so calm and peaceful and happy.
And quote unquote normal, right? But everyone has their issues. Like looking at you, you would think like, I would never think that you went through all this trauma. And I was reading your bio. I was like, oh my gosh. And my heart just started to go out to you and feeling like that's hard. Like, how do you survive that? So, and you did. And, so however way you did that, it brought you to where you are now and to help others.
And honestly, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Like I really say that our individual soul journey is very powerful if obviously I've pieced it together, but if you can heal because you become such a guiding light for others, if you can really figure it out, and there's no better place of power and peace than that. Like I got this. Now come this way, guys.
Yeah. And it shows. I've been watching your videos on YouTube and reading more about what you do. And I'm like, yeah, she's the real deal because you come from a place of, I've been there. I mean, rock bottom almost, and probably in your body and in your mind.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Been there, done that.
Right. And so now you're here sharing your story, which I'm grateful. Thank you for doing that. So let's talk about now your work, a little bit about your work. So the moment you realize that, there's a lot of work out there, there's a lot more tools, a lot more things, mindset work here, mindset work there. When did you realize, like, where was the pivotal moment you're like, oh my God, this is really shaping like my healing. This is really healing me. When did that start for you? And how did that happen?
You know what's interesting is that nothing was working for me, is why I had to find my way. Like, I think I went to one therapy session and I was like, this is not working for me. I was very defiant, very black sheep, as you can imagine. So actually, nothing was working for me, which is why I had to create my own systems. The only thing that really spoke to me was when I found yoga, believe it or not, because it taught me to breathe. And that's the first place I ever cried. Still didn't know why, you know what I mean, at that point, but it kept pulling me there and pulling me there. So that's when I learned the power of breath, obviously. That was the only thing that worked for me. Everything else I had to build out on my own because nothing resonated. And that's why I say, you guys, like, you have to dig into your own traumas and do what works for you. Don't think because that's not working and it worked for that person that you're broken. It's like, no, it's just not working for you,
Yeah. I
you
love that
know?
you said that. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned yoga because I'm not going to share my story, but yes, yoga was like the thing that was the game changer for me after years and years of trauma and abuse and all that stuff too. So yoga, yeah, we're going to put yoga on the top shelf, right at the top there. Yeah. And breath work, right? So breath work was, and people don't give breath work cred, right? They don't give it credit.
And how do we not? Breath brings us into this world and breath brings us out. How do we not see the power of breath?
Yeah.
I always say we like to complicate healing. If it's not expensive, if it's not miserable, if it doesn't take an hour to get into, like, there's no way it's going to work.
Yeah. You know what? I think you should market that phrase.
It's just
It's true. It is so true. Okay, so you do a lot of things and you've combined different modalities, right? So you said you had to find out what worked for me. So it's like going to the grocery store, you're picking all these things like making a recipe. So you are integrating a few things together, right? So you have like neuroscience, like there's a lot of talk about neuroscience, neuroplasticity
yeah.
and rewiring our brain. And then you have rhythmic affirmations and energy psychology. So into your own method, right? Your soul sync method. So can you talk about a little bit about what those things are and how these three things, how you were able to integrate these things?
Well, for me, after the suicides, obviously, I was like, that made me focus on thought because obviously, whatever they were thinking, feeling, spiraling about, they couldn't get out of their own mind, right? So I was like, okay, how do I outrun my mind? And at the time, I was the perfect guinea pig because my mind was doing what it was doing as well. That's when I started with the thought patterns. And I started realizing that I had to outrun my mind. Like, how do I redirect my negative thought patterns that tell me I'm a loser and there's nothing possible for me? Like, you know what I mean? And that's when, believe it or not, my music background came into play. I realized that rhythm is sticky. And when you created a rhythmic pattern, it's stuck. We all know these riddles that get stuck in our mind, right? Like Mr. Rogers songs. And you're just like, oh my God. I started playing around with the rhythmic thought patterns, and that became a thing. And then, it's so funny. We're going to talk about the affirmations later. I saw that
Yeah,
you mentioned that. So I won't get into all that, but that's how I started with the thought patterns.
yeah,
I was able to redirect my thought patterns. But then I was noticing, okay, but why can't I breathe? Why am I sitting next to someone in the car and I feel like we're going to die? Why am I so jealous? So then I was like, okay, but why do I still feel this grip, And that's when I started learning energy. Not all energy is the same. It took me a while to learn that. Anger, sadness, and any stress about love or money, those are three different anger. They have to be met differently. So
yeah,
anger, for me, aggression needs aggression. You can't meet anger with a soothing breath. For me, that does not work. Anger, the energy is an upward spiral. It needs to be met where it's at and then walked down the hill, I say. Sadness is a collapse. So what do you need? You need expansion, right? These are all different, different ways to meet the energy where it is. And love and money, anytime you're spiraling about that and you're feeling tension, that is actually a distorted imprint. That's a belief that you learned. It's not even based on truth. So that is where you can actually lay the rhythmic affirmations over that. That just needs to be retrained. So energy, knowing that is very powerful. That's why I started with the energy. And then obviously the nervous system reset is like we have to train our systems to stay open, right?
yeah. It's great that you talk about energy because energy is what I teach as well.
Okay.
And for people who are listening, when you talked about sadness, you came in and your chest went in. It's like you're closed off, right? And then you open your arms and expanded. And I just wanted to mention that also breath work is the lungs. Lungs represent grief in traditional Chinese medicine.
I didn't
So,
know that.
in thinking about what you've gone through in your life, there
Mm.
was a lot of grief, right? You've had people in your life who took their lives, who passed, right? Even grieving your own childhood, for
Mhm.
example, and you learning how to utilize the breath to heal and help heal others is like this has been your journey, you know?
Yeah, I mean, everything. There is not one thing I do that doesn't use the breath, you know? And this side story, like even when I cross my animals over now, like I know how to breathe in and breathe out, like as I'm just because you have to let that pain in because that pain is also packed with so much love. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You just have to
Yeah.
let your vessel expand and just stay rooted in love.
Yeah.
And it takes, it takes training.
Yes, it does take training. You're right. And that's why you do what you do. So you had a lot of self-sabotaging words, right? And we all do. We go, me too. You know, people think like, oh, look at Rose. Rose is, she's got everything, got her shit together. But I go through the day too and say things to myself like things, and we have to just stop and pause and flip that switch, right? And sometimes it's harder than other times, but you know, coming back to the breath or affirmations, which I know we're going to talk to. So let's walk through a little bit what actually happens to someone's brain. I know there was one of your videos I was watching. You really talk about the left side, right side brain and how they function together and how your work, what you do works with those, the patterns.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that? Explaining, you explained it so well. So you were talking about how the left and the right side brains communicate.
Yeah. So the right side, I like to always really try to simplify things for people. I like to say the right side's the wife, the left side's the husband. You got to get them on the same team, right? So that's to simplify it. The left brain is the husband. It's the logical side of the brain. It's the side of the brain that every time the wife has an idea, it's like, how are you going to do that? You can't do that, right?
Right.
So how do you get them moving in the same direction? You know what I mean? How do you get your right brain to have an idea and your left brain to start strategizing a plan? Not questioning, not doubting, not criticizing, right? So that's what I do with my rhythmic affirmations. You're actually training the brain to work together. A normal affirmation does not do that because what happens? Your right brain says, I'm loved. Your left brain says, yeah, by who? Where? I don't see anyone. That's why sometimes regular affirmations don't work because your left brain is calling bullshit on you. You know what I mean?
Right. You're
So,
right.
so rhythmic affirmations train them to work together because what they are is rhythmic riddles. So I am talking about love. I am talking about money. I am talking about confidence. But when I frame it in a riddle and then slap a rhythm on it, the right and the left brain sync up. And when they sync up, it's just training a feeling, you guys. You have to realize all we're trying to do is train a feeling because that's embodiment, right? And that's when you
Mm.
really start to believe if you can feel it, it's real. If you can feel it, it's truth. That's why pain hurts. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I felt it. It must be real. So the rhythmic affirmations are just a really playful, fun way to start training your right brain to work together as a team. With breath work, you can do this as well. I'm sure you do. Like if you say on the inhale, inhale confidence, on the exhale, exhale doubt, even that is training your right and left brain to
Right.
work together as one.
All right. So you sync affirmations to music. Do you also do some movement with that? Or is just like, or can you do movement with that as well? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why does all this work together? Why is this all crucial to use the music, the movement, and those affirmations?
Again, everything comes down to embodiment. I say that a big problem of creating change is that we think one thing, we feel something else, and we do something else, right? Where everything's pointing in a different direction. What my method does is when you're listening and you're saying the affirmation and you're moving, you have three things moving in the right direction, moving in the same direction. Everything's agreeable. It's all about coherence within your body, getting everything agreeable. What you think, what you feel, what you say, what you do. And that's when you can move towards the life you want. That's when you can move towards confidence, move towards that job opportunity, move towards that relationship. But if you think something, you feel something else, you do something else, it's just that's why we're stuck.
Yeah.
Change won't stick. It's
And I
just
think,
all it's doing is really a playful way to train everything to move in the same direction.
right. And embodiment is huge. And people who have trauma sometimes don't feel that.
Of
Their
course not.
proprioception is like they don't have any, and this can help them.
Oh yeah, I know it well.
Yeah,
I know what it's like to feel like a piece of S. I know
right.
what it's like to feel like nothing is possible for you.
You feel numb, right? You feel like you just don't feel
I just
anything.
feel tight. I felt just tight all the time. It was constant gripping, that gripping,
Yeah,
you know.
that uncomfortable, like you almost feel like you're not comfortable in your own skin type of
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, it's essentially a nervous system that's just stuck in survival because that's what you were raised around, you know.
Yeah,
All it knows is survival. All it knows is tightening grip, stay safe, stay small, stay quiet so that you're safe, right?
right. And, and
Shrink,
so
shrink, shrink, shrink.
there's also hypervigilance that's involved here too, because you're so, even though you're so tight and but you're so aware because you're thinking, oh my God, what else is going to happen now? Like you're looking around, like when's the shoe going to drop again, right?
Totally. You live
Yeah,
in a life of when's the shoe gonna drop?
yeah. But a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know that, and that they have to realize that that's happening, so that they can start to use the tools that you teach.
Honestly, I listen, I'm good and I still do everything every single day. I have such an imprinted abandonment wound that I just know. I know that it's going to show its little head. Like I constantly throughout the day, no matter what I'm doing, I could be driving, I could be thinking, I could be getting ready to prepare for a podcast with you. If I start to feel the tightening and my shoulders raising, I will take a second, take that breath. I will drop into a little nervous system sway because you have to train your system. The minute it starts to tighten up and go into protection, no, 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 no. We're safe. It's okay. It has to be constant, guys.
Yeah,
Constant, constant. Because you have to train your system to stay open. Because if you don't, nothing will stick and nothing will stay. You will
yeah.
sabotage everything.
What's the nervous system sway?
Oh, it feels so good. Like I've been doing it so much that I'm just like, oh, I could drop right in. It's just, you know, you know what the easiest way? Think of a baby. A baby's crying. You would just a slight tip to the right, to the left, to the right. And the more even and steadier cadence, the safer you'll feel. It's like you just drop in. It might not look like much movement on camera, but inside it feels huge.
Yeah,
You're reparenting your nervous system. Always, if you can't do it for yourself, picture holding a baby. So many times we can't do it for ourselves. Just picture that you're holding a baby and how slow would you sway it? What are you doing? You're signaling safety. Like it's okay. It's okay.
yeah.
You're safe.
It's
You
such
know,
a
we
wa-
know how to do it for everything but ourselves.
yeah. I see people swaying, and I think they do it unconsciously. It's such a great
Mm.
self-soothing tool. I mean, listen, if you're going to do a self-soothing anything, that's the way to do it, because there's other ways people soothe and are triggered, and this is such an easy tool just to, yeah, I'm watching you do it. I'm like
Or
very,
I tap right here on my chest. Like
yeah,
I do it all day long. I don't even know what's happening half the time. You know, it's just like, what did I think? What did I do? What? Like, why are you doing this? But you know, you have 30 years of survival and trauma. It's like, you know, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you're learning, you're training.
when someone comes to you and struggling, let's say we're going to pick something. We're going to pick codependency because that's a big one, right? Or attachment issues because we all have those, or
Mm.
have had those, or still have those. How does your method differ from like traditional therapy approaches?
Well, first of all, like I said, any type of attachment style, any type of codependency is that deep-rooted abandonment wound. And I will say the best thing I did for myself and what I would tell for anyone else to do is I literally shut my life down for 30 days and I created these self-love rituals of, I would say, essentially dating myself. And it sounds like nothing, you guys, but I got to tell you, when you treat yourself how you would treat your plus one or the man that you're in love with or whoever, you cook dinner for yourself every night, you light the candle, you do everything you would do, you take yourself to the most romantic restaurant without the plus one, and you just soothe yourself. You take care of your, like, I'm telling you, like, didn't just take a regular bath. I did candles, I did flowers. I romanced my life for a month, and it was so transformative that I felt what it felt like to be loved. Like I was loving myself. You know, I didn't realize I didn't love myself, but through these little rituals that might sound like nothing, especially taking myself out to romantic restaurants, sitting with myself and just being enough with myself, and also observing couples that were together that looked lonelier than me. You know what I mean? So that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
You could really
Yep.
observe that. There was so much that went into that month that by the time I decided to put myself out there, I was very protective of myself because I knew what love felt like. I knew how I wanted to be treated by how I treated myself. And I also had anchored in a little bit of inner authority, like self-empowerment, whatever you want to call it, confidence, that I didn't need the plus one. If I wanted to go to that restaurant, I could go by myself. I took myself to like the theater by myself. It was all couples and me. And
Right.
when you get used to that and you realize that you don't really need that plus one to do all the things you want to do, you know, it's an undescribable confidence. And then you will not settle. You won't let that guy treat you like crap. You won't deal with that. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's this, like, "Oh, I'm too cool. I'm too tough." It's like, no, I just love myself and I know how I want to feel.
Yeah. I wish someone would have told me to do 30-day self-love rituals years ago. I think that's brilliant. And I think everyone should do those because you really start to become in touch with yourselves. But people have a hard time doing that.
Well, people don't have, they don't want to be alone. Like the most powerful time, because that's when everything surfaces. Trust me, it's not pretty at first. Like, you do feel lonely. That's why the thing is, when I started, I was so lonely. I was like, I hate this, and I just was like, I started really like talking about lonely. I'm like, what is loneliness? Like, what does it even mean? Because I'm alone. And that's why I took myself out and I started watching people that were together. And that's when I realized that loneliness has nothing to do with whether or not someone's sitting next to you. Because I would see
Right.
people look miserable sitting next to each other. And that's when I was like, okay, so loneliness has nothing to do with being alone.
Right.
It's literally a detachment from self.
Right.
It's literally you have abandoned yourself so much to please others that you don't even know who you are, what you want, like how to love. You're so separated from yourself.
What happens when they're going through the program and maybe they're frustrated because they want to see change happen fast. So you said that delayed doesn't mean denial, it means deeper rooting. So can you talk about that? Can you talk about how, you would advise a client or what happens?
Yeah, I feel like when you're frustrated that change isn't happening fast enough, I always say you're not listening. Everything happens in solitude and everything happens when you slow down. You have to realize, you guys, so much of our trauma and so much of our deep-rooted unmet needs have to feel safe enough to surface. And when you are rushing and speeding, that's not a signal of safety. Like, what do we do when we're trying to escape? We run. Speed is not a signal of safety. So I always say, you're not listening. You're not slowing down enough to listen, because when your unmet needs surface and you can hear them, then what do? You have to answer them, right? Like, why do I feel this way? And that's when you really start having the conversation. Why don't I feel loved? Well, because I never was. What do you mean you never were? Well, I, you know, thought I was good. And then my parents spanked me. And then they said this, like, you really start breaking down where you decided that you're not lovable, where and when you decided XYZ about yourself. And when you really start answering those questions that surface, is when you really start transforming, because you have to actually look at it. What do I know now? Because you also have to realize, this is something I realized, is that the child in me wrote that belief. The child in me interpreted what that silence meant. What do you know now as an adult? Being stressed, making money, paying bills, also dealing with kids, not being able to afford something. You really have to extend your parents' grace and be like, okay, what do I know now about what that silence probably meant? You know what I mean? And that's when I say you're not listening. Like, you have to let those unmet needs to surface, because when you're able to attack it or observe it from your adult mind, extend your parents' grace, and then rewrite what that moment really meant, you start to heal and you start to transform. So
Yeah.
you aren't listening, is what I would say. Like, you're not listening.
Yeah. I can see that because we need to almost put ourselves in our parents' life or thoughts and have a little compassion maybe for what they've been through. Like, for example, I always tell people, yeah, it all depends. Everybody's different.
I know it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I know my mother was very volatile at times, but she passed away early and I was never able to really have a conversation with her, but I gather that's how she was raised. So she didn't know any better, so she didn't have an outlet. She could have had mental health issues. I don't know, right? But back then, you talked about mental health issues, they would bring a straitjacket to your house and take
Exactly.
you away. So you really couldn't explore how to heal on those levels. But
And they didn't have access to the data that we have, is a
no,
big way. Listen, abuse is abuse, and I'm not ever excusing it, but I'm just saying, how do we release it from harming us any further? You know what I
yes,
mean? How do we untether ourselves from them? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And for me, if I'm able to extend them grace and fight to understand, it was a way for me to release them, you know?
Right. And that's good. Release, forgive, let
Yeah.
go, and move on with healing yourself, right? And the
Yeah.
first thing you said is like you have to see what pops up, see what surfaces, and work with that and not push it back down or disregard it because that's where the numbing comes in and
Yeah.
those bad self-soothing tactics come in instead of working through that. A lot of people are afraid to work through those issues because they,
Yeah. And you have to be patient. It's not one conversation. It's
right,
it's a lot of them.
right. It's a lot of
You know what I
breath
mean?
work.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. And you have to create space, like I say, for it to surface and then just circle back to it. It's not like you have to have the answer in the first conversation. You know,
Yeah,
this is the journey.
it could take years, right?
I
And
mean,
more.
not to discourage people, but it's like it's a really beautiful journey when you get on the other side because I say like you become like us. Like when you've
Yeah,
experienced the journey, you become such a source, right? You could be such a vehicle of service.
yeah,
That's when you really step into your life's purpose. I always say people that have experienced extensive trauma, like you are going to be a power source when you get to the other side.
yes.
You don't want to
I
miss anything because you want to be able to teach it. You got to pay attention.
Yep. Yep. I agree. And you also, if you're someone who has children, you're going to be a
Mm,
better parent,
God.
right? I mean, that alone should be motivation for you to embrace this journey of healing and cutting the cords of what happened to you in your previous younger life.
1000%.
Yeah, I just want to remind also that you have graciously provided a walking meditation, and it will be towards the at the end. So I will attach it to the end. So I'm encouraging listeners to stay to the end, and will also have all of the links to Angela Jean and what she offers, and she does have a lot as well. And I encourage everyone to listen.
That meditation, there's this one lady, I've gotten a lot of feedback on the meditation. I don't know why I call it a walking meditation because I was walking on the beach. I listened to it walking on the beach, but this lady's like, I was at the grocery store. She's like, I was listening to it. She's like, by the time I was almost done, she's like, something just shifted. And so it was really nice to get that feedback. So
Well, I appreciate that you
yeah.
are sharing it with the audience. Thank you. I can't wait to listen to it as well. So for people out there who recognize they're in a self-sabotage pattern that, they have things popping up that they're not comfortable with, like
Mhm.
what's one thing they can do right away that they can stop and say, okay, even before working with you, like what can they do?
Yeah. So self-sabotage is huge, you guys. What self-sabotage means is that you don't feel safe to hold. Hear that, okay? It means your system doesn't feel safe to hold. I'm working with women that are struggling with fertility right now. And when the body doesn't feel safe to hold, it will release. And the same as when a body doesn't feel safe to hold that love, safe to hold that business opportunity, it will sabotage it. That is your nervous system, okay? So your nervous system is stuck in survival. So that's what I said I do earlier. Like I say, anytime you feel your shoulders rising, you feel yourself collapsing, you feel that tightening, that grip, you have to start training your nervous system to stay open. You know what? Let me show you something really fast. This is my tripod. Anyone that's watching this, I want you guys, when you're at home, take your Swifter, take your broom, whatever, stick it behind your back like this, wrap your elbows around it, and just sit like this. This is what it feels like to stay open. This is what it feels like to have your heart open. It almost feels like vulnerable. Like if someone was to throw something at my face right now, I'd probably get like hit in the face, right? But this is what it feels like to stay open because you trust, right? You have to train your system to stay open because when you train it to stay open, it feels safe to hold. You feel safe to receive. I even say, like, I'm safe to hold. I'm safe to receive whatever it is for you, that love, that money, that confidence. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
constant training. And that's why, like, everyone, you got to play around with what works for you. Like, if something doesn't work, don't say it doesn't work. Try something else. Like,
Yeah.
fight for yourself. You know what I mean? I always say, like, don't give up. Like, get up off the floor and fight for yourself. Find a way.
Yeah.
Like, if that doesn't work, try something else. Try something else.
Exactly. And there's so many things we could try.
Yeah, even like, if you teach yoga, like finding your yoga teacher is like finding your boyfriend. Like you have to
Yeah.
find one that doesn't, her voice doesn't annoy you, her music doesn't, like, you got to find your person. Know what I
You're
mean?
so right. You're right. We already talked about like everything we need, everything we have, confidence, security, clarity is already inside you. How do people access what's been there all along? So we already talked about some of that, right? So it's like kind of dropping in, using breath, using movement. Is there anything else that we miss that can help us recognize those beautiful qualities that we have?
I always say, like, try to remember, like, I think that all the self-doubt and the insecurities is all conditioning, right? I always say that you have to train your mind to search for proof. And if you can think back to your childhood, your innocence, it's like everything was possible. You know what I mean? Everything was possible. You believed in anything. You could do anything. What happened? I think that's the proof. Like that's the root of the proof that like what happened, the energy of the world before the energy of the world got to you. There was proof that you could do anything, be anything. Like you could fly up a building and have wings. So I always say to train yourself to look for proof, even if you have to start there.
I love that. I think, and you're so right. We forget what it's like to be curious and have an open mind and feel almost like invincible.
Yeah, I mean, that is the proof. Like that's where we started. It then is just the conditioning happened. The interpretation of life started happening, and we started deciding that we weren't good enough. And that's the one thing about parenting. So much of what we believe, they didn't mean. Like if your parent says, "Oh, let's do better next time." What does your child mind hear? I didn't do good enough.
Yeah.
They don't look happy at what I did. Then we decide I'm not good enough. There's so much that wasn't intentional, but we don't know how to interpret.
Yeah.
We're a kid.
Yeah. And
Think about
even,
something so little as let's do better next time. Like they
yeah.
meant it to be, good.
Yeah. And
We don't hear
even though we've also worked with, with these tools, like you and I who've had some of these issues, we sometimes we drop back into those, those thought patterns.
that. Oh yeah.
But we're
Yeah, the
just like more aware of them now. We're like, okay, well, that's not true. Really, that's not, let's move on. That's not who I am anymore. But yeah, but it's,
That's why my audios are micro resets. Like I literally listen to them all day. Like I listen to them all day long. Like to me, I'm training thought patterns. I'm just feeding my mind thought patterns, high vibe thought patterns, good thought patterns about love, good thought patterns about money, good thought patterns about everything. Like it's nonstop. It's a lifestyle. That's why
yeah,
I make them so short. So there's no excuse not to listen. Just listen.
yeah.
If you're feeling like, listen, insert the new thought pattern. They're locked and loaded thought patterns. Nope, we're going this way. Nope, we're going that way.
They're like
Love's that
commercials.
way. Confidence is that way.
What are your thoughts on journaling?
I love journaling. It's a bit, well, so my 30-day programs, there's the audio, but then there's also a digital journal where you write exactly what you just said because the journaling forces your mind to anchor. I do have rules that I like when I'm working with people. I always say, when you're brain dump, if you've had a crappy day and you're brain dumping, let it rip. If you have to cuss, don't worry about commas, period, let it rip. However, when you are feeding the mind, short, intentional phrases. And I always like to group things in triads because the mind loves triads.
Okay.
So take all the crap you dumped, because when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, right? And how do you convey that into a very small, nutrient packed thought? So I do love journaling.
So dump first and then do the triads.
Because when you dump, you get clear on what you don't want. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And then you can get really clear on I'm sorry, you get clear on what you don't want. So it gives you clarity on what you do want.
yeah. And
And
you may be dumping the same thoughts over and over again. Just do it, right?
probably, yeah.
Yeah. So talk about your soul sync method then. Is it like a 30-day? Is it an ongoing? Is it
It's ongoing. I kind of package them as 30-day programs though, because I know personally when I'm learning, I want a deadline. I want like an end. You know what
okay?
I mean? So they are 30-day programs. They come with an audio based on whatever mindset struggle you're working on, followed by a digital journal, followed by a daily tracker to keep you accountable. I've grouped them into love, money, and confidence because that seems to be the top three things people struggle with. And they're all very playful. They have multiple audios. Like I say, you guys, you're training thought patterns. You're training thought patterns. You're writing it in the journal. You're anchoring it. You got to hit it from all areas. You have to think it, say it, move it, write it. It's full embodiment programs. You're training a state of being.
Yeah.
You're training a version of yourself that doesn't have problems. You're training a version of yourself that believes in love. You're training a version of yourself that believes that success is possible for you. I always say we're training in the background whether we know it or not. It's just like every single decision. What are you training? You open the refrigerator. Are you grabbing something healthy, unhealthy? Because that's a tally on each side. The unhealthy version of yourself, the healthy version of yourself. You have things to do. Do you do it or do you not do it? It's a constant tally. Lazy version, someone that gets shit done. Think about
Yeah.
it like that.
Yeah. It's like a pros and cons list.
Totally. Like you have to train in the other direction. The problem is we're all training in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And you mentioned love, money, and confidence, but they're not exclusive. They all really kind of work with each other, right?
Yeah. It's
Love
all
that.
just a higher state of being, it's high vibe, high state of
Yeah.
being. It's like your higher self wants it all. The God within you wants you to have everything.
Yeah.
I believe that we need to be responsible for the energy that we bring into the world because it's a domino effect on every single person you come into contact with. You know what I mean? And what I'm hoping my programs do is make people aware of the energy that they're bringing into the world because we're a conscious collective. And I say when one rises, we all rise. Like we're on the other side. So now what are we doing? We're holding light for others. And as each person individually transforms, we hold the light for others. Can you imagine the world? Like right now, all I want to do is help and guide and lead. Imagine millions of people wanting to help and guide and lead, like all holding hands, being like, come this way. Can you imagine the world we would live in? You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. I'm definitely
Like,
the same. I come from the same thought patterns and raising the vibration of the world.
yeah, it gives me shivers because I know
Yeah.
I know how I feel and I know like I wish I could just like clone this and stick it into everyone, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, they have to do the work.
Yeah.
But it's just God, it's such a good feeling. Because it's like I shouldn't be this happy. I shouldn't feel this good. I shouldn't feel this aligned. And like I say also guys, with what you and I do, it's not about a life of perfection. What I say, it's about feeling your feelings to the fullest and knowing that you have systems in place to bring you back to baseline. Walking into that love story, even if it burns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to focus on the love, you're going to focus on the lesson, and you have what you need to bring back to baseline. It's just, for me, it's really about feeling your feelings to the fullest and just really embodying the life that we're supposed to be experiencing.
I love that. I'm getting goosebumps as you're saying that too, because I was having a thought earlier, I think it was yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I really didn't feel happy until about 25 years ago when I was doing a lot of this work and it was really starting to click. And then I think that's when I was really happy. And like all the other times in my life, I was struggling. And
Yeah, and that's how you know that happy is an intrinsic feeling. It has to be
yeah,
birthed from within you. It's not getting that car, getting that house. Like it's not the stuff.
right.
When it's birthed from within you, no one can take it away. And
Yeah.
that's when like we feel the happiest.
Yeah. Right. No one gave it to me.
Exactly. You did the work.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got this, this thing that you birthed and like, oh my God.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to do the work, people. And I encourage everyone to seek Angela Jean. Angela and Jean, talk about, is there where we can find you? I'm going to put everything in the show notes.
Yeah.
And you also have a YouTube channel, great YouTube channel, by the way. Your voice is, I was just saying earlier, it's just soothing and empowering, and it's just healing, just listening to you.
Let me say something about that really fast, you guys, because I was always so shy because I was so abused when I was younger that I did not speak. I was afraid to talk. I couldn't public speak. I could never use my voice. So I always say that like, wow, now I'm using my voice. It's like I want my voice to be globally known. What are the odds? The thing that was suppressed and silenced within me is now my tool to soothe others. Like, it's magic.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
I mean, I'm like, I love talking to you. I just get so excited because I just want people to just like get on the journey that we're on.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your walking meditation, which will be at the end right after we conclude. And also, I'm just going to ask everyone, just check Angela Jean. All her website's beautiful, her YouTube, she's beautiful, her energy is beautiful. And, join us on this healing journey.
Yeah.
So you feel like we do.
Yeah. Remember guys, when one rises, we all rise.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
These sessions are to be done standing. Standing signals readiness. Your body literally stands up for the new identity. Your nervous system decides what you get to keep. If it doesn't feel safe to receive or hold, nothing sticks. Not love, not success, not the truth of who you are. For the next minute, we're not here to try harder. We're here to signal safety, because once your body feels safe, it opens. And that's when we install the code of the version of you that's been waiting to be remembered. Let's begin. We're going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 4. 3 rounds. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Now return to your normal pace of breathing. We're going to sway from right to left, creating a bit of a pendulum effect. This rhythm is the signal of safety. It tells your nervous system there's nothing to brace for. You don't have to rehearse rejection. You don't have to prepare for no. You don't have to carry the courtroom in your body. This is your 2-minute daily self-concept reset. Today we're locking in the identity of someone who knows their power, owns their space, and doesn't shrink for anyone. Let's get the body online. Let's wake up the giant. With every jump, say it with me. I delete, I command, I override. This is how we shift the state. You're not here to fix yourself. You're here to activate and send a new signal. Let's go. I delete, I command, I override. 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 For every time you've questioned your worth, for every moment self-doubt tried to shrink you, you're not broken. You've been coded to forget. Let's delete that code.